Honestly, as a fine artist, I don't think it's a good idea to do art shows or art fairs or craft shows, and I'm gonna tell you why in this video. So, as a fine artist, I'm talking as a painter, okay? And maybe even as a sculptor, but that's a little different. But specifically, as a painter, I don't think it's a good idea to do art fairs or especially your basic flea markets, craft shows, or farmers markets. As a fine artist who just started her career this year, I have done 4 art shows this past summer, and I'm supposed to do 5, but got rained out. So with my experience with these 4 different art shows, I will tell you I am now in debt because of those art fairs. And here's the deal with those shows, right? You have to invest money up front. You have to invest money in buying all the things for your tent. So I'm talking buying the tent, buying the table, buying all those things that I mentioned in my last video to get you set up for the art fair, right? So you're shoveling all that money out up front. Then you also have to buy your products. So I'm talking prints, stickers. Let's say you print out your artwork on t-shirts, on tote bags. Any of those things, you have to buy that product up front, whether or not you know it's gonna sell or not. Then you also have to pay the fee, the booth fee that gets you into the show in the first place. So that could be anywhere from $20 to hundreds of dollars. The shows that I was in were about $100 to $200 each show. So that being said, I ended up spending probably around $2,000 trying to get all those things set up so that I could do all of these art shows. Then I get to the art shows and I'm all excited. I have a goal of making like $1,500 to $2,000 each show. And of course in my mind, I'm like, I'll easily pay back that $2,000 of initial investment up front. You know, that just seemed like business to me. And I get to these shows and my first one actually was really pretty good. And I did talk about that show in my last video, so go ahead and check that out if you haven't. But I did invite tons of friends and family to that show, so I actually did pretty good. I think I made around $750 that show, and that has been my best show so far. Now my second show I thought was going to be fantastic. It was in downtown Denver. I was stoked. There's going to be so many people there. It was supposed to be nice weather, sunny, and I get there and there is basically no foot traffic. And if there is foot traffic, people didn't realize there was an art show there. So they kind of were just wandering through and just kind of confused about what was going on. So I literally only sold 1 print that day, which was for $35. So in that show, I was in the red. And then my next couple of shows pretty much followed that same pattern. So my other shows, I think the third show, I made like $10, $15. I sold like 3 or 4 stickers at that show. That was probably one of my worst shows. I had a lot of fun at that show, but I made like no money. And at that show, I had to pay $100 up front and no, $150 up front and a $50 fee for insurance. And then the last show I was at, I did a little bit better. I made about $60 in profit on top of the fee. So the fee was $130 to be in the show, and then I made $60. So all in all, for my 4 shows this summer, I am still in the red by a lot of money. I'll do the math and show you up on the screen right here how much I'm still in the red from these shows. And here's the thing, I could keep doing shows and eventually get myself out of the red, pay back everything that I've already invested. But the other thing about shows is they can be super disheartening when people just walk by your art and they don't buy anything, they barely engage with you. You really are putting yourself out there in a big way by having all of your art in this tent showing to people, complete strangers that have no idea who you are, maybe aren't even a huge fan of fine art in the first place. And you have to just bare your soul and tell them your story about your art and hope that they'll take the bait. And that part too is really, really hard. And on top of that, you are fighting the weather every show. So I was supposed to have a 5th show last week, but it was predicted to have super heavy rainfall and maybe hail. And there was an aerial flood watch for that day. And I had already paid $160 to go to that show, but you couldn't pay me enough to drag all of my artwork out and risk having it get ruined by the rain. Like, I can't bring all of my artwork out and risk it getting ruined and risk people not coming out because it's gonna be storming all day long. So I lost $160. The guy running it never emailed me back to get my money back because he got his money and he's gone. So anyway, all of this being said, I don't think it's a good idea to go to these basic art fairs, craft fairs, flea markets, farmers markets as a fine artist. Now, if you're someone who does ceramics, sculpting, you make mugs, you make ornaments, you make small things like that, I think those are good shows for you if you make that kind of product. If you make fine art paintings like these, like big, vibrant fine art paintings, I don't think these shows are for you, and I want to convey that to you as a fine artist who has learned through my experience this summer. I don't think I'll be doing any more art fairs, and if I do them, I'm only gonna do maybe one a month next summer and not invest so much of my expectation into making money at these fairs. I'm gonna use these fairs more as a way to get exposure and talk to people. The best thing about these art fairs for me so far has been collecting emails from my email list. I do get about 20 emails every time I'm there. So in my mind, I've just told myself, I'm paying the fee to get warm email leads. And other than that, I don't expect to make sales at these shows anymore. I just go and I'm going to just go and expect to share my art with people, even though it's hard and scary, and not expect as many sales. However, I think it is valuable to search for fine art specific fairs. So where I live, there is the Boulder Fine Art Festival, and I think I'm gonna make it my goal to be in that next summer because that is for fine artists. People coming to that show will know that there's mostly fine art painting, whereas when you're at a farmer's market, people are kind of just browsing for salsa, bread, cookies, whereas at a fine art show, they're gonna be looking for fine art and hopefully wanting to buy fine art, which is what I would like. So anyway, long story short, I don't recommend going to these fairs as a fine artist. I will only be going to maybe one a month from now on and not investing so much of my energy and time and money into these fairs. And I wanted to warn you, as maybe another fine artist, to take that in mind, take that into account when you may be investing in tent and supplies and all that stuff up front, to have those expectations, know what you're getting yourself into, and maybe learn something from what I have been through this past summer. And with that, that is all I have to say about fairs and markets. I will say I'm hoping to post a video every week going forward. So if you have anything specific that you would like to learn from me, hear from me about my journey as a fine artist so far, please drop those questions down in the comments, and I will be planning to make videos every single week. I want to do a studio tour, I want to do some paint and sip classes with you where I show you how to do a painting from start to finish. I think that would be a lot of fun. And I'm also going to do a 100 painting challenge, so keep an eye out for that. Anyway, I'm just excited to be here on YouTube more often and get to know my community more and be a part of this. I also have an Instagram, which will be listed down below, and a website with all of my art and prints if you want to check those out as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!